You guys, what's going on? Appreciate you tuning in. We're going to go over one of y'all's comments today, and it's going to be on putting women on a pedestal. All right, so Jack Waterhouse 148, you left a great comment. I appreciate this. It's pretty long, guys. Thankfully, it's broken up into different paragraphs, so we're going to go over these. But we're going to talk about why men are putting women on pedestals and how you can stop doing this. All right, so let's just start from the top. All right, starts out saying thank you for the video, bro. Absolutely. Next here, I'm a 26-year-old man. I had acquaintances in school, but didn't talk to them much as I was always nervous. Since leaving school and starting work full time, I've had no female coworkers as construction is 99% male dominated. I get it, man. That sucks. So, just in this first paragraph, we're starting to kind of see where he's at. I know a lot of you guys are probably here. Maybe you're in a male-dominated workplace as well. Even if you're not, a lot of times as guys, we kind of, stick to ourselves, and I'll get into that here in a moment. He goes on to say that I socialize often with my guy friends, but it's mostly on Tuesdays and Sundays as there's hardly or any women present. Over the past few months, I've noticed that I socialize less on the weekends because there's a higher chance of women being there. All right, so this is the first instance where I'm reading this and I'm going, okay, so we have an internal problem. And he actually goes in to explain this a little bit more, but I do want to address something here, all right? So he's saying here that he does socialize with his guy friends, which is good, right? And this is kind of going off a video I made earlier about how to get over your fear of talking to women, right? You just got to go out and socialize more, okay? And a lot of guys, they don't even socialize with other men, and they don't go out to bars, they don't go out and just have fun with the guys, right? And put themselves in positions to meet other women. All right, so let's get into this. But it's mostly on Tuesdays and Sundays, okay? Now, he does say that on the past few months here, that on the weekends, that he's noticed that, I'm assuming he himself, has been socializing less because there's a higher chance of women being there, okay? So that tells me, one, he's freaked out of women, all right? We're gonna see that a little bit later on in this comment, but I get it, all right? Maybe you've had a long week, you're stressed out, you haven't had a whole lot of time to rest and recover, right? We always make a bunch of excuses, I get it, okay? Now, that's the one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to intentionally stop socializing because there's a higher chance of women being there. So I can already tell probably some self-esteem issues, right? Probably some internal things going on here. Next part, he's saying, regardless of when and where, I always find that I put way too much pressure on myself to be Mr. Smooth and always end up disappointing myself when I don't accomplish this. Okay. So again, let's address this. I've been there, all right? I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this have at one point or another been there, right? So a lot of times as guys, we get to the point where maybe we were afraid of talking to women, and then all of a sudden we try to put on this act, right? This Mr. Smooth act, okay? And we try to be someone that we're not. We try to be suave. We're trying so hard to be these things that we end up disappointing ourselves because we literally put ourselves on such a high pedestal and we self-internalize things that aren't necessarily going to be beneficial for us. So we end up just in this self-defeating cycle where we think like we're pushing so hard, we're trying so hard to get women to like us, to get women to notice us, to get the approval of women, that we're disappointed when we don't go home with a woman, or we're disappointed when we don't go home with a number or a date, right? We get all frustrated because of certain things, okay? Now, it gets a little bit deeper into this. I've now stopped visiting my local coffee shop as I noticed that I spent way too long in the restroom looking myself in the mirror and attempting to calm down. So here's where we're getting a little bit deeper into this, okay? And man, I really appreciate you leaving this comment. I mean, this takes a lot to be able to kind of let it out, right? Just explain how you are, explain what you're coming from. I really appreciate this. I'm sure a lot of other people do. If you guys have any comments, let me know below. I'd love to get to them and talk about them, help you through them. But I know he's not the only one going through this. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, guys, I actually just made a video, why looks maxing is hurting you. And I go into that in greater detail, but I'm just gonna say a couple things on that. What's happening here, because the comment right above, what he said right above about being Mr. Smooth, right? You wanna compensate, you wanna overcompensate. And so you get out of your comfort zone, which is good, right? You try to be a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more masculine, a little bit more presentable, right? But then you go over the top, overboard. You just get ridiculous with it. And then, which is one thing I hit on in my video about looks maxing, is you start to get paranoid, you start to get obsessed, you start to think, oh my gosh, do I actually look as good as I think I do? And you're running to the bathroom, you're looking at yourself up and down, you're checking your hair, you're obsessing over making sure that you're perfect, all right? This, guys, this is where I 100% believe, I know for a fact, okay, that obsessing over yourself like this is gonna turn more women off. Even though you might look better, you're gonna give off this sense of you don't know yourself. You're not comfortable with yourself. Most of the things that you guys are like zeroing in on, these microscopic things, people, even women, don't even notice them, okay? And the ones that do notice them, most of them are going to not care, okay? And for the ones that really do care, right? Because we've all heard the stories about, well, we've heard stories, we've seen texts, or we've seen people tell a story or whatever, right? Every once in a while, you'll get this chick that said, yeah, you know, this dude was great, he was charming, he was funny, he was attractive, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, he had some gray hairs and that's just not attractive to me, right? Or you might have someone, you know, like, yeah, he was great and all, blah, 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 but like, you know, maybe his ears were kind of big or his nose was too big, right? Whatever. Guys, those are extremely isolated cases. Don't take those stories, don't take those experiences and run with them. Don't take them as literal proof. Don't take them as truth, okay? Those are extremely isolated incidents. You do not want to be any part of those women at all right? Because let's face it, we all have imperfections in some ways, right? Some more than others, maybe externally, some internally, okay? But we all have something wrong. If somebody really likes you, they're really not even gonna see those imperfections. Like, they're gonna accept you for all of it. So I get it, I've been here. It's easy to fall into this mindset, but don't take it so seriously. Look your best, go out there, and just know, like, when you're out at a coffee shop, when you're out at the bookstore, when you're at the grocery store, you walk in and you act like, I'm here, like I own the place. It doesn't have to be cocky. It's just a self-confident, it's a, I know who I am. I know what I am walking in with. I'm the man, I got this, I'm confident, I'm ready to roll, I'm ready for whatever life throws at me. You have that attitude, guys, that's gonna be 100 times more attractive than making sure every hair is in place, than making sure that everything's perfect, all right? I'm telling you, it really does. It's gonna take some practice, it's gonna take some time, it's gonna take, you're gonna have to put the reps in for your mind to really adjust, but I promise it's gonna be a lot better for you, all right? Next thing here he goes into is, he says, I don't intentionally put women on a pedestal. Well, you kind of do, but I get what he's saying here. As I'm 100% aware that a pretty face does not mean that somebody can't be a bad person. Okay, well, that's good. Due to not spending enough time around women, I've built up the fear and blown it out of proportion. Again, I appreciate you being so transparent. So let's talk about this, because this is where it's getting really good. All right, so he's saying right here, I don't intentionally put women on a pedestal, as he's 100% aware that a pretty face does not mean that somebody can't be a bad person. Well, he's correct, okay? But there's still that part of him that sees somebody or sees a woman who's attractive to him, right? Again, attraction's gonna be subjective for the most part, right? There's Hollywood stars out there that my friends or buddies I've known said that are super attractive, and I'm just like, I don't get the hype. I really don't. Objectively, socially, they might be attractive, but like, to me, they're really not my cup of tea, all right? So it's going to be the same way for women too. So you guys like get in your head because you think you have to be Mr. Perfect. You think you have to be like Mr. Perfect to every girl too, right? And that's where you're losing a lot of people. But he's correct, all right? I mean, pretty face doesn't mean that somebody, can't be a bad person, right? A lot of people, especially if they look good, especially a lot of women too, let's just be real. A lot of women who know they're attractive, they're going to use that to their advantage. Especially if you're in America, you grow up in this society where looks, your external appearance is heavily influential, guys. Like to every point of your life, social media, when you're out and about, right? If you're a pretty girl, you can just see it when you're out places. Like I see it when I'm out, if I'm out at the store, if I'm at a restaurant, if I'm out wherever, like beautiful women normally get their way, right? Guys behind the counter, wherever they're working, will usually hook them up with something extra, help them out, go out of their way, right? So a lot, like if she's not good in her heart, right, she's going to usually realize that pretty quickly, right? And she's going to start using that to her advantage, all right? And so that's good that you realize that. But I'm sensing again that a lot of this is internal, and we're going to get into that here in a second. Second part, he's going into how he doesn't spend enough time around women. He's acknowledging it. Again, this is great. So he's built up the fear and blown it out of proportion. Well, I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So I really want to talk about this because I really want to just hammer this in. If you, again, do not purposely put yourself in situations to talk to women, to be around women, you are missing out. Because let's face it, if there's like half the human population's men, half the human population's women. If you don't know how to communicate with half the human population, guys, you're messing up. All right. This doesn't even have to be in a romantic context. All right. Because you're going to run into women, even if you're at a construction site where 99% of the people there are going to be men. You're going to have to go out on the weekends or during the week. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to put yourself in a position where you're actually in an environment where there are women. That's just a fact. All right. Unless you don't want to go after women, but I'm gonna make a video on that too. There's very few instances where that's not really the case or shouldn't be the case, right? But you realize this, and I think what's happening here, the theme that I'm seeing throughout this comment is putting yourself again at this super high level where you have to be attractive to all women. And guys, where a lot of guys mess up, I'm gonna give you a little bit of golden wisdom here, okay? A little bit of advice. It's tried and true. It worked when I was young. It works now. You don't have to have the prettiest girl in the room like you. You don't have to have every girl in the room like you, all right? You really just have to have the ones that like you. And then most of them will end up being comfortable and liking you, all right? What do I mean by this? I figured this out pretty early on in life, all right? It's pretty basic stuff, all right? You can read it in the Bible. Like every time it talks about a man being successful or what a woman's looking for, one of the biggest things that is talked about is the man is, and this is something that's not talked about in our society now, but the man is looked up to by other women. He has other women in his life. Like women literally look at him and go, wow, I want to be part of his life. I want to be part of what he's doing, okay? And what a lot of guys fail is they go out there and they think, oh my gosh, I got to get every girl out there to like me. What you need to do is focus on yourself. Focus on being your comfortable, confident self, which is something I advocate on, right? A lot of people hear the word comfortable and they're like, whoa, hold on. But comfortably confident is you have to have this, like he talks about Mr. Smooth, it has to be internal. It can't be external. It can't just be you're looking the part or you're acting the part. It has to be you. There's an element to fake it till you make it, but you have to really internalize this stuff, okay? So he realizes, putting women on a pedestal is killing him. He realizes that, he's built up fear, he's blowing this out of proportion. Really the last thing he says here, logically speaking, I understand that talking to women in a purely platonic sense will help drastically which is something I just covered. As the majority of men, myself included, aren't able to do this without feeling nervous or try hard. I don't know where I'm going with this long ass speech, but overall, I want to thank you for the video again. Appreciate you leaving that comment, right? So, guys, just to kind of round off this video, I do want to say that this last big point that he's talking about is something that we've all struggled with, and occasionally we probably struggle with from time to time, right? Is we know we need to talk to women. We know we need to get out there more. We know we can always improve, right? But a lot of us feel nervous. We feel try hard. And again, that goes back to a lot of the things we're doing internally, because we're telling ourselves, everybody's telling you not to do this. Just do this or not to do this. What we really need to do, all right? What we really need to do is we need to go, what do I want as a man? What do I want to live out, right? Because when you do that, guys, you're gonna, this nervousness, this try hard self, it's gonna go away. The common theme throughout this whole comment is pedestalizing women. He realizes it, he doesn't want to do it, but he's doing it anyway. And honestly, guys, that's gonna come from the fact that you're not working out, right? You're probably involved in things that you shouldn't be involved in, right? So if you're watching porn, a lot of porn, right? If you're addicted to dating websites, that's another trap a lot of guys fall into. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit more in another video, but basically, my rice is done. Anyway, but basically, guys, if you're not in the top 10% of looks when it comes to, subjective looks with society, if you're not in the top 10%, good luck on dating apps, guys. Like, seriously, good luck. It's all about looks. But take a step back and actually look at your life and actually go, okay, what am I doing that's bringing me joy? Am I actually living on my path I'm supposed to be on? This is something that I keep talking about, and I 100% believe in it, because until you get to that point, you're going to be stuck. You are going to stay where you are. You're going to pedestalize women, because here's what's going on for a majority of guys. All right. They're doing just enough to get by. They're doing just enough to pay the bills. They're doing what other people tell them to do. So they live just at baseline, right? Just at the minimum comfort, acceptance level, right? And they're seeing all these other people, and they're seeing how everybody lives life. And they're seeing how, these guys they're super attractive, right? And they're able to pull women, and then they go, oh, I'm never gonna be that because I don't have the genetics, or I don't have the money, or I don't have this. Instead of actually doing something about it, they're just gonna be like, okay, I'm not gonna get out of my comfort zone. I'm cool with being where I'm at. I'm cool with staying just enough. But then on the flip side, you realize, wait a minute, I'm not living my life. I'm not doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing, right? And as a guy, you can get into your head, right? But if we cut off the bad habits, right? If we cut off the being comfortable, watching the porn, being addicted to these dating sites, the social media too, guys, like social media is bad for men and women, all right? I'm not just saying social media is bad for men because it seems like there's straight up, it's like softcore porn everywhere you look. But social media also, when you see a bunch of guys who are, they look like, at least, they're living the, multi-millionaire playboy life, and you're just sitting there going, like, I hope I can pay the bills this week, right? That's going to do something to your head, all right? And it's bad for women too, because women get on these apps, right? They get on social media, whatever. They see all these women who are just, beautiful, right? By all these beauty standards. And they see women living this like luxurious life, and then they want that. And so they base their whole life around it. So we got to get out of that mindset where we're comparing ourselves to everybody else. That's why I recommend, if you haven't, delete your social media for a little bit. You don't have to deactivate or delete your account, but just delete the app. Just get off of it for a few months. You'll be surprised. You'll actually start picking up hobbies. You'll actually start doing things you like. You'll actually start socializing better. It's really strange how that works. But honestly, I think we'd be a lot better off without social media. Some people say it's okay to casually use it, whatever, right? I'm just saying, for the most part, until you figure out what you want, you're going to just stay in the cycle. You're going to stay in this loop forever. You're going to keep pedestalizing women. Because guys, let's face it, most women, especially if they're somewhat attractive, right? They're out there living their life. They're doing what they want to do. They might be living their life because they want, attractive, well-off men to pay them attention, but they're out there living their life, right? Guys need to go out there and live their life. People just need to go out and live their life. They just need to be who they are. And once everybody's out there comfortable in their own skin, it's going to work out a lot better for a majority of people, especially guys, man. And the reason I say this is because I know there's like a third of the audience who watches this channel are women and females. So if there's like any comments y'all have, let me know. But I talk in these terms because I think sometimes as guys, we just get so zoned into how we think, right? We get so tunnel visioned on what we're thinking and what we're seeing, and we don't put ourselves in other people's shoes. And so being able to do that is going to help you out a lot, but don't pedestalize women, guys. They're human. We are people. There's some differences when it comes to male and female, right? But we're still people at the end of the day, okay? We still have a lot more in common than we think. And so if you want to attract real women, right? If you want to attract people, if you want to attract things in your life that you enjoy, you're going to have to actually do the things you enjoy. And that means breaking out of this comfort zone that you've made for yourself. All right. So if I could honestly just kind of sum this up today, because like I said, pedestalizing is the biggest theme I'm seeing here. If I had to sum all this up, I would say, look, you're in construction, you're around a bunch of guys, start talking to guys who are ladies' men, all right? If you're in construction, you're in a pretty type A environment, all right? You're gonna be around some guys who, they might just be all about playing video games and drinking, and right? But there's also gonna be guys out there who are going to be ladies' men. They're gonna be better with women, right? Start to talk to them, get to know them, see if you can, go out with them. I've said this before, if you just act halfway interested, right? It's not even acting, it's actually being interested in other people's lives. If you ask questions, if you're like, hey, that sounds kind of cool, right? If you're not just a total weirdo, which I don't think anybody is, a lot of times those guys are gonna be like, eventually they're gonna be like, hey man, you wanna come out with us Friday night? You wanna come out with us Saturday night? Or like, hey, this party's going on, right? Put yourself out there a little bit more. All right, put yourself out there a little bit more and stop obsessing over these tiny, minute things that nobody cares about, guys. Most of it is in your head, all right? And we end up pedestalizing people. We end up idolizing people. We end up idolizing women because we're trying to make up for our deficits. We're trying to make up for something. We think we're less than, right? We think somehow we're below somebody. Somehow we're not good enough for someone. You have to change your mind, right? You don't have to go full-blown narcissist, okay? But once you switch your mind and you're comfortably confident in yourself, once you start to walk around thinking in your head, this doesn't even have to be a pride thing, guys. You can just literally think like, I'm the man, like I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm on my purpose. I'm on my mission. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Doesn't matter if people like me or not. Doesn't matter if women like me or not. All of a sudden, guys, I'm telling you, it might not be overnight, but I'm telling you pretty quickly, you're going to start realizing, you're going to start finding out people are going to want to talk to you. People are going to randomly come up to you and like talk to you. People are going to be more open to talk. You're going to have better conversations. You're going to start being able to conversate with women better. And guys, one of the biggest things guys mess up on is when it comes to socializing with women, and I'll end the video with this. When it comes to socializing with women, what you have to realize is they're social creatures. So you getting in your head, you got to talk to the most attractive girl in the room. Okay, cool, good luck with that. But what ends up happening is if guys don't get her attention or the girl's not, just doesn't find him attractive, he ends up going, well, I tried my shot, I didn't win. Some guys do that. Some guys always do that, right? It works out well for them. Some guys get really good at it. But they miss out, I think, personally, on a lot of just socializing in the first place. If you talk to women who maybe you don't find super attractive, it's really funny. If you guys ever catch this, I want you to catch this. Notice how just carefree it is. Notice how just easy it is. Notice how careless it is. Like, you don't really care. You're probably cracking jokes. You're probably just being yourself. You're probably being funny. And there's this thing going around that's like, oh, the girls that I don't like me, and the girls that I'm trying to go for, it's because we're trying to push ourselves so much. Like, we're trying to be someone that we're not because we see a pretty face and we're like, oh my gosh, I got to be someone else. These girls are people just like everybody else. And a lot of times when girls see you talking to, less attractive girls than themselves, a lot of times that makes them go, wait, whoa, hold on a second. Like, he's just casually talking to this girl who's not as pretty as me, and like, oh wow, look, they're having a laugh, and oh wow, they're kind of like, light flirting or whatever, right? It's like, whoa, hold on a second. That draws them in. That paints you as someone who can socialize because they see that. That paints you as someone who's, in a sense, like a safe person because you're able to talk to women. Because what a lot of guys do, guys, like I said, is they just focus on attractive women, and they either look like a complete cornball because they've never talked to women in the first place, or they're so nervous and so anxious and so self-conscious that they can't do it. So when they see that, they see you talking to women, they're like, whoa, like, that kind of draws them in, right? All of a sudden they might start putting themselves in the situations to talk to you, to be around you. Maybe you start talking to that girl and all of a sudden, y'all are friends, and maybe she's like, hey, you should, I'm having a party, or, all of a sudden maybe you go out with this friend group and like she's a part of it, and then you get introduced to her friends and like you find one of them attractive, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this guy's kind of cool, but you never would have been there if you just kept doing what you're doing. So guys, that's all I pretty much got for you. Try something different. Be confident in yourself. Stop pedestalizing people, especially women. But if you guys got any comments, you guys disagree with me, let me know below. But I'll see you at the next one.